All right. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Glad you all can make it. We are going to kick things off here shortly. I like to wait just a few moments for latecomers to jump in. We're about a minute past our start time. And I'm just watching the participants number here, waiting for that to level off a little bit, and then we will dive right in. First of all, I just want to make sure everybody's at the right webinar. We had some confusion on my end this morning. I sent a lot of folks over to the next webinar, which is a big announcement coming later in April. We've got that ironed out. Hopefully, everybody got their Zoom invitation. But um, if you weren't able to get the Zoom link in time, you'll get the recording. You can watch this all at 2x speed. All right, let's do this. It looks like we've got a good steady number on participants. Let's dive right in. We promised a speed run, no frills demo of Kuali Build. That's what we're going to do. I'm the director of marketing here at Kuali, so I'm just going to zip it. And I'll do a quick introduction of Liz Christianson. She is our Kuali Build demo queen. She is our in-house consultant and account executive for Kuali Build. And she's going to be doing our demo today and really showing off what Build is capable of. Quick housekeeping. This is being recorded. I have to mention that legally so that everybody knows this is being recorded. And also, I just want to point out the Q&A feature. We really want to test Liz's knowledge of Build here. So as she shows you the demo, think of some use cases and some challenging questions that y'all might have about how forms and workflow automations could be used at your institution, and drop those in the Q&A. I'll be watching those closely, and we'll take those probably towards the end. Liz has got a fun demo worked out for us. I don't want to interrupt her flow. Let's let her dive into it. Liz, I'm going to hand things off to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you for everybody for coming. When we look at the attendance here, we really see a 50-50 split. About 50% of you are current customers, and I know you, and thank you so much for coming. And then about 50% of you are new faces. So for my customers, a lot of what I'm going to start with is going to look and feel familiar to you. Stick with me, have a little faith in me. I promise you we're going to get to some really fun secret sauce that you're going to be excited about seeing it. And you might actually learn some things. I need to do a little level setting for our new faces, right? So that's why there'll be a little repetition for you, but you may learn some things in that level setting. So stick with me, some really cool things coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I just want to help everybody level set. Kuali Build, what is it in your portfolio? How does it sit in your portfolio? Our customers came to us and said, could you hit the sweet spot? We have all of these solutions that are easy, but they can't move through a dynamic role-based approval process. And then we have these complex types of low-code solutions that need an engineer, take a lot of time, need to be able to maintain that code. So they asked us, could you hit, what if you hit the sweet spot in the middle? Created a no-code forms and workflow tool that is simple enough for your non-technical users, but also powerful enough for IT. That's what we're about with Kuali Build. You know, I'm going to create a student-facing form for you, but what it could be anything, you know, what if it were a program change request to a dissertation approval form, a grade appeal to a petition for experiential learning, internships to study abroad, meal plan changes to FERPA permissions. What if it was faculty or staff facing? No cost extension to faculty credentials renewal, expense reimbursements to travel requests, fund, small fund, large fund approvals, onboarding forms. Data access request is one of those big forms that IT always is building and maintaining, to parking permits, hazard pay requests to remote work requests. And this morning I talked to Duke, and they have an OIT service monitoring form that constantly is checking in on the status of service. So really, really broad usage cases for Kuali Build. Let's jump into the product like we promised. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here you go. Hopefully, Paul, maybe you can monitor and make sure everybody can see this. Hopefully everybody's seeing it. And this is my home dashboard of Kuali Build. And each one of these colorful icons represents one Kuali Build app, and one Kuali Build app contains the form, the workflow, or that approval process, and the documents that are created by the submission of that form. So data capture, data process, data management. I'm going to create a form for you. It's going to be that ubiquitous student-facing form. Remember, but it can be student, faculty, or staff. I'm going to start with the program change request, and then we are going to get some really special secret sauce going on. Before I create a form, though, you can see I have tons of apps here. One of the unique things about Kuali Build is the ability to manage your tool process across your campus. We have what we call distributed management spaces. So let's just jump there really quickly. So I'm going to jump to my system home space. In my system home space, I can see my apps. I can see my integrations. This is our integration tool where I'm able to define my data sources, those that I want to read in from my external systems, and also define my push integrations from my workflow, so I'm able to push information back out into my systems. This is where I define that right here. And then, of course, my system-wide branding. Now, how do you manage an automation tool across your campus and maintain data security, maintain data governance, if you're giving everybody the ability to create their own forms and workflows? Well, you want to be able to put them in discrete spaces in their own sub-tenants that you're able to manage. It's a parent-child relationship. Let's drill into College of Humanities. The parent gets to say what the child gets to do. So the College of Humanities have been given permission to create their own forms and workflows, create their own integrations, and to sub-brand. This is a really important thing on campuses that we have found. People want to know where are those forms coming from, who owns this form. You're able to sub-brand. College of Humanities has a bunch of children. Let's just drill into the Department of English. They've been given permission to create their own forms and workflows and to sub-brand, but not to create their own integrations. So that is Kuali Build's distributed management. How do I manage this across my campus? Super cool and super unique to Kuali. Let's jump back here then to my homepage, and I'm going to go through all my apps here so you can see them. And I'm just going to create a new app, and I'm going to call this a program change request. It's down there on my screen, but I'm just going to keep going. And once I click create, actually I better give it a big number. Once I click create, oh no, I'm going to sneeze. Don't you hate that? It's a webinar and I'm going to sneeze. Well, I'll try to avoid it. All right.
You're allowed to sneeze.
Am I? I just thought, oh no. So I know this is review for some of my customers, but stick with me. We're going to do some special stuff. This is our form builder. It's a 3-panel WYSIWYG form builder, visual designer, drag and drop on the left-hand panel. These are all of our data gadgets. Up here, I have my basic data gadgets, and then I have some advanced ones down here. We'll talk about that. I'll build my form in the middle. On the right-hand panel, I'm going to configure those. Let's get going real quick. I'm just dragging in a section, drag and drop, program change request. Just going to drag in a couple of text fields. Now I'm going to prompt for the student. I'm going to prompt for the advisor. But of course, and I could continue to fill this out with text fields, but of course we all know anytime we already have information in our system, we do not want anybody rekeying it. So instead of asking for a student, faculty, or staff to tell us their name when we already know who they are, they've already signed into your SSO and been authenticated, I'm going to collapse my basic fields here. I'm going to come down here to my smart gadgets. I'm going to grab a data lookup list. So you remember that integration tool that I showed you. All of those integrations to your external systems are being created in the background, right? For your form fillers, they just know, or form designers, I should say, they just know that they have approved data sources that they can use. So here I'm going to say student, and I'm just going to choose my data source. In this case, I'm going to choose the SIS, and I'm going to tell it what I want it to get and where I want it to get it. So in this case, who signed in? Who's the authenticated user? Who's creating this? I want to get them. So I'm going to say who's creating this, and I want to key off of that school ID. Fantastic. And I can get rid of this text field. Now, I want to key off of that school ID because we know more about Jamie than just her name. So over here on the right-hand panel, I'm going to toggle on Add Auto-Linked Fields. Here's the information I have available to me, and I'm just going to drag in advisor. Great. Now I see the anchor and the link. So through the power of television and the internet, I'm going to jump to a form where I've already done that several places. I've got my anchor, my link here. It's also linking here. Here's my requested programs and my department and my description. And now when I go to the preview of this form, I know who's signed in. I know who their advisor is. I know what their current program is. And all Jamie needs to do is choose her requested program. She is able to see that contextual information. She's able to see that catalog description, make sure that she's giving us correct information because we are giving her correct information. And of course, all of our forms automatically mobile ready. Really great to see that WCAG 2.2 accessible. But what if this isn't enough information for Miss Haley to actually be able to prove this? What if she needs more information that doesn't necessarily need to be on the runtime form? Let's grab another section right here. Let's call this office only. And let's go ahead and toggle on. Don't pay attention to any of my misspellings today. I've got a lot to show you. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and highlight Jamie again and go back to those auto-linked fields. This advisor, program changer, because if somebody changes their major and they're an international student, they may be here on a specific international visa to fulfill a specific program. Ms. Haley needs to know that. Ms. Haley needs to know if they're on scholarship. What if they're a dance major and they don't want to be they have a dance scholarship, they don't want to be a dance major anymore. That could really mess with them. Changing right now mid-semester time might mess with their financial aid, and even being a student athlete may be tied to a specific major. So we want to give all the information that we need to give. So office only sections, not only for somebody in the approval process, but you can also use them to actually fill in the form along the way. I have a faculty credentials app where the department admin is the first submitted. So she has one page, submits it. Then when it goes to the next stage in the workflow, the faculty member fills out page 2. And then the next stage in the workflow, department chair, page 3, and so on. And you can see how that works. And you use the office only section for that kind of work. So a very, very simple form. Let's look at a more complex form, an easy toggle to be able to page, also an easy toggle to be able to create conditional visibility. One of our customers' favorite things, you want to be able to show and hide individual fields and full pages. So does this apply to multiple campuses? No, nothing happens. Yes, well then I need you to tell me what campuses it applies to. Again, a very simple form, but what if? Let's go to this next one. So, let's explain this for a second. For this particular form, this is a program announcement form. It's a really complicated form, and this is the form that the proposing campus fills out. In order to get this all the way to the stakeholders, there's a number of forms in between by different groups that have to create their own things. So you're not going to branch in a workflow. We'll talk about branching in a moment, but sometimes you have completely disparate forms. And in the end, all of that data needs to come together in one final form. So here's the really cool thing. I showed you that integration tool where you're able to read information in and out of our system through APIs, but you can also use another Kuali Build app, we call it data sharing, as a reusable data source. So in this case, I have all of these disparate forms coming in from different agencies, and I need to collect and autofill all of that information right here in this final form. So if I go here, you can see my anchor and all of my links. And if I continue to scroll down, this is all coming from different Kuali Build apps as reusable data sources. So I can fill in all of my information from all of my different data sources. The one last thing I want to show you here that I usually don't get a chance to demo is one of my favorite gadgets. Down here at the bottom, these are all of our smart gadgets attached to systems. I want to use my read-only data gadget. I'm just going to pull it in here so I can show it to you. So I've already talked about Kuali integrations, and I've talked about using other Kuali Build forms and apps as data sources. But what if I need to repeat a field that's being filled out in the same form? In the same form, there's a lot of use cases for this. Anytime you need to repeat a field, you do not want your form filler actually rekeying that field, because what if they give you a different answer or just a typo? It's going to create all sorts of data havoc. So with my read-only smart gadget, I'm able to choose a data source from the data on the form or metadata from the system and read that into the form. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to get rid of this one because I don't mess up the form. But let me show you what that looks like. I'll go to the general data for this form and go ahead and start filling things out. I've got my proposed program title and I've got my proposing institution. Now I want to repeat that at the top of every page. This is a really long and complex form. And I don't want either my form filler or my approvers to have to scroll back up. Wait, which one is this? Which one are we talking about? I want that to repeat on each page. So I go through these pages. I'm using that read-only smart gadget to repeat on each page. Really, really fun gadget. I love that gadget. Okay, let's go back now to the form that we created here, and let's move to the workflow builder. So every app, of course, has that form workflow documents. So let's go up here in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to go to that workflow. I started one for you. It is also drag and drop visual designer. And at first, of course, the form submission, and then I'm routing to the advisor. I'm routing to the department chair. Here's that role-based approval. We believe role-based approvals, role-based permissions, best way to keep your workflows healthy. I've also created an email notification back to the student, and I've used variables in the form to be able to give context. And then I've pulled in a push integration here. This can be configured, of course, in that API tool. Once the student has a new major, has a new program of study, I want that to update my SIS. Fantastic. But what if I need to move up a smart workflow to the college dean? I'm just going to grab that approval right here, and I'm going to call this college dean. You can see how easy. I'm going to route to a person and a role in a group tied to that department. And our workflow builder, of course, is smart, and it can go up that organizational hierarchy, and it can grab that college dean. Okay, what if I need to branch on some business logic? I'm going to introduce a branch right here in between advisor and department. And I'm going to add a rule to be able to introduce this business logic. When my requested program department is history, when it's history, it's going to go a different way. So let's grab that. Now I can drag in my department chair and my college dean to that default route. I can drag in an approval. I'm going to route that to a specific person. It's going to be Myra. Fantastic. Now we're to my favorite part of Kuali Build. All of my customers like, I know it's coming, Liz. They know it's my favorite part because I have tested hundreds and hundreds of workflow. And by golly, we have a workflow simulator. So the code triggers exactly the same in the background. It simply doesn't push anything out. So let's go ahead and run this test. And I can fill out the form, validate that the form is working the way that I need to, and I can submit it, and I can move all the way through here. I'm not going to take a lot of time to do this because we want to show you all sorts of secret sauce, but you're able to move through, validate that workflow is working the way that you want to. And if you are a technical person, which many of you are, you can see the exact JSON that's being pushed back into your system. So such a quick way to show you workflow. But what if, I have some what ifs going on. What if you need to branch? I've just jumped to one of my more complex workflows, has a lot of branching, reliant on different things that are going on in the form. But what if I need to branch on the denial? So this approver is, if they deny it, what's going to happen? Does the workflow just stop? Right here, over here on the right-hand side where I'm configuring each step. Remember, if I highlight the entire branch, I'm configuring that branch. If I highlight a specific step, I am configuring that step. And I have gone ahead and said, well, what happens if it gets denied? Over here on the right-hand side, if you can see my cursor, I'm going to say I want custom steps. and then stop. I could say continue. Maybe there's a reason why if one specific person denies it, I still want to continue on. So I get to define that, and I get to define all the steps in the denial branch, a really unique feature to Kuali's workflow builder. Okay, one more. No, two more about the workflow. All right. What if I want simultaneous branches? Let's go ahead and introduce a branch right here. And let's have this default run never. Let's have this route one run always. Let's create a second route one to run always. Let's put Katie into one and Beth into one. Now I have two simultaneous branches. What if these are recommenders and I don't want them to see each other's recommendations? And I'm going to use that office only section that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and configure Katie. I've toggled on, or I'll toggle on it for you now. And I'm going to say, I need Katie to edit her section, her office only section, give her recommendation, but I need her not to see Beth's. Fantastic. I'm able to control what each step of the workflow can see in the form. What if you have an AVP who gets 100 forms a month and they're all 10 pages? That's 1,000 pages of reading. What if they only need to read page 3? By golly, you only show them page 3 and you've just saved them 900 pages of reading. One more workflow. What if you have a form? This is a dissertation committee approval form, and you don't know ahead of time. It's not a committee in your group service. This committee hasn't been formed. The student is going to tell you right now what this committee is, and you don't know how many people are in this committee. They have to have at least 3 people, so we're going to default to 3 people, but then they can add more, up to 8 people in their dissertation committee. If we go behind the scenes here, I've used a repeater gadget here to be able to allow them to continue to repeat. With a table gadget, you can continue to repeat lines, but with a repeater gadget, you can repeat entire paragraphs or sections. So how am I going to have this go through the workflow when I don't even know? It's N+1, right? I don't know how many people they're going to be. They're not already in a committee. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Let's go to our workflow. I am going to use an echo step. I've created one here, but let me just show you how that works. I'm going to pull in an echo step, and I'm going to say which fields in the form are available to me as an echo step, where it's able to move through a list that I didn't know before this form was created, so I couldn't create some kind of movement otherwise. So I'm going to use that faculty information, and then I'll grab an approval here, and it's going to be able to go through that list. The echo step, really, really powerful. So one last what if I want to send reminder notifications? Great. I can decide to configure that for the entire workflow or for each stage of the workflow. What if I don't want to allow somebody to deny this? That's a big deal. What if they're just, this approval has to go through. If they want to send it back, you can deny, approve, or send it back. They can send it back for more information, but for this process, they cannot deny it. Yes, let's do that. So a lot of different information here that I'm not going to go through. You can even deny them from sending it back. No, you don't get to send it back. I just, we're including you for perfunctory reasons. Now, sometimes we want to include them for perfunctory reason as an approver, but I could include them as an acknowledger. I can put that anywhere I want, where it's not going to stop the workflow. It's just going to send them, hey, this person wants to be notified. Fantastic. I'm going to notify them. I could also add a task step. So sometimes it's not an approval. Sometimes you actually have to give instructions for a human to do something. Click complete and have that move forward in the workflow. All right, that's about as much as we're going to do about the workflow itself. I do want to jump back to this form here that we created at the very beginning. Go back to these form settings and say a few more things here. I can set the submission dates. I can disable the submission. So you have this URL button here. Click here for this form, and somebody calls you as I think of tick that off the website, and you're like, sweetheart, it isn't that easy, right? So you're going to actually turn off those submissions until you're able to do that. Or maybe it's an off and on and not necessarily submission dates. I'm able to limit submissions per user or limit total number of submissions, a lot of different form configurations there. Okay, that's our form and our workflow. Let's jump. Now, everybody that's on the call, stay with me because there's two secret sauces that you have never seen before. I'm almost there. I'm still level setting. Let's get to that document dashboard. How do I actually manage all of these documents coming in? Here is my document list dashboard. Here is that records list of all of my documents that have been submitted. Some key things here for those of you who haven't seen this before. All those data fields in the form are available to you as a column in your dashboard. And I'm able to decide what I want to see, what I don't want to see, where I want to see it. And then I can sort and filter all of those fields and then save them as many views or reports as I want to. If I want to see everything that's in the denied, if I want to see everything that's complete, if I want to see everything that has been submitted for the Department of Anthropology, and then for each one of those sorted, filtered reports or views, I can export them into a CSV. I can share them with folks who have permission to see them. A lot of different ways to be able to do that. So once these are all in here and I have my document list dashboard configured, how do I manage each individual document as it's being submitted? So here I've thrown an error state. If for some reason a document can't go forward, it will throw an error state and the admin of this app will automatically receive an email notification. Let's go in here and take a look. So every single document has a workflow status or document history trail attached to it. So I'm able to see exactly what's happened, the authenticated approver, the timestamp, where I'm at right now. And if as an admin, I need to manage this, I'm able to retry, I'm able to skip, I'm able to reassign to another authenticated user. I'm able to hammer them with resend notifications. Even though I can schedule in the workflow, like you saw before, I can hammer them here. So a lot of different ways that I can manage this. Now, what if some of you haven't seen this before? For my current customers, I want you to pay close attention. Of course, you can duplicate a document, right? So you filled it out, you duplicate it, and you go ahead and resubmit that to the workflow. But now you have two documents. Maybe that's the way you want to manage it. But what if you need to manage one document over time with its different versions and track those changes? By golly, let's take a look at that. So I have this form here and well, let's go to one. Let's go to this one. I go into this completed form up here on the left-hand side. I'm able to say, I want to create a new version of this form, right? So I create a new version. It's already filled out. I decide what needs to be changed and I can change it like that. Let's go ahead and discard this. And let's go to one that I started earlier. So what happens then? How do I track those changes? Let's go to this one that I started earlier today. So I can see that my latest version, or I guess I started it the other day, it had a completed version in 2021 that was approved. And then my latest version is from the 27th. So I need to know what's going on here. What changed between these? Over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to expose show changes. This is so exciting, right? And I can choose between different versions. If I had 5 versions of this, I could choose which version and which two versions I want to compare against each other. Now, if I want to see the changes in context, then I can go scroll through this form and find all the changes in context. What if I'm a very, very busy person and I only want to see the changes? I don't want to read the whole form. I don't have time for that. Over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to toggle on show changes only. And now I can see just the changes. I'm able to get through that approval process much, much faster. We call this versioning and track changes. It's exciting. It's a game changer. I'm really excited about it. Okay, I have 2 more really exciting things to show you that I don't think that you have seen before. Okay, so here we go. I have a form here. This form is a department project funding application. So it's a large project funding application. And this is to get my department, it's a department discretionary fund that somehow has a lot of money in it, right? So this is to get funding approval. But if somebody chooses a particular thing on this form, so I'm going to go ahead. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? To do this, I have to, well, I decided that I have to. Let me go ahead. I need to share my entire dashboard because I need you to see both sides of what I'm doing. This is very exciting. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to, for some reason, it's not letting me new share. So let's stop share. Let's go ahead and share again my whole dashboard. Ooh, I got to get rid of, well, I'll get rid of it in a second. My whole desktop. Here we go. All right. So let's go ahead. I have this form over here. Hopefully, Paul, can you see that okay? I'm trying to show two forms at the same time. Let me pull this in. Is that, you can see that
Perfect.
okay?
Yep,
Great.
we got it.
All right. Here's the deal. We already know, and for my customers, you already know that you can submit a form, and that submission of that form and going through the workflow, you can automatically trigger another form, a completely different form that you might need in a system. And so we can jump here. We have all of that documentation already. Many of you have seen that happen before. But what if I need the submission of this form, the large project funding application, to automatically trigger this equipment acquisition type 2 request? It's special, right? It's going to be from a completely different department. They don't want to branch on one form. It's completely separate form. And then when this form, this equipment acquisition form is filled out, it's going to return values to the first form while it's going through its workflow progress. Oh my goodness. Let's see how this is going to work. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fill out this form. This is going to be called 3D department. I'm probably going to misspell things forever, right? And my requester is going to be Lacey. Let's have it be Lacey. And this is going to be the biology department. And they're requesting equipment. And then for those of you who know anything about this, this is the Stratasys J750 digital. Oh, I'm not even in there. Oh my gosh, I started typing and I wasn't even doing it. Stratasys. I knew if I did it this way, I wouldn't be able to spell. Stratasys J750 digital. I don't know if any of you have seen this before. Anatomy. It can actually print real anatomy so you can see it and how it works in the finest parts. You don't have to open up a cadaver. It's fantastic. Okay, and it costs, what does it cost? Anybody want to guess? Guess while I'm doing this, $250,000, right? And guess what? I want it tomorrow. Okay, so now I'm going to submit this form. I'm submitting this form. It's going to take me to it's submitting. I've had all of these tabs open for so long. I have sort of this fear that everything's gone stale or something, but this let's go back into that department form. So here you can see, here's Lacey. This is the one that we just turned in for that $250,000. Now here we are over here at my equipment acquisition. I want to go to the document list here. And I'm going to refresh this because I've been sitting here for a minute. Ooh, there's Lacey's form. Do you see how that automatically triggered that new form? Now we're going to go into that form, right? I'm going to be the approver here, and I want to edit it. And I just need to fill this out. They want a 3D digital printer that uses multi-materials, and some of those multi-materials sometimes can be a little sketchy. Are they safe? All of those kind of things. So this equipment acquisition form has nothing to do with the funding of the project. It has to do with the safety of the actual piece of equipment that is being requested. So I can go in through here and say, well, sure, it's safe if operated correctly. Yes, it's going to take in additional funds. Yes, it's going to have ongoing costs. And here's its purchase code so that you have that. So you can fill that in your approval form. It's going to autofill. Remember, I'm returning values from this form to the first form. And then in the end, if the department wants to be able to fund this, I don't have any objections to this as far as safety goes. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and I'm going to apply those edits to this form and submit this form. Okay, now let's go back over here. Let's make sure that this went through the approval process. I'm going to work at my workflow, and I'm going to skip after that is edited. It does go through one more approval there. And then you can see there in the workflow status, right? It's awaiting its response. So I have some 202 pauses going, and now this is complete. So when I come back to this form on the right, I do want to refresh just in case I need to. I'm going to go back into Lacey's request form. And what is happening here? All of this information down here has been auto-filled. This is still in the middle of the workflow. This should be exciting to everybody on the call. I worked on this for the last couple of weeks. I'm very excited about it. And now this is able to continue through its workflow of approval of purchase, right? We've already gotten all of this autofill. You can imagine the kind of things. For some of you, we've talked about having loops in a workflow where you're able to go out, how to have a form that goes through this loop in a workflow that the person managing your base app managing your base form workflow doesn't know anything about this loop over here that those people have to do. You're able to do that with this kind of integration. Okay, this wasn't my last secret sauce. We're almost out of time. I promised Paul I wouldn't go too long, but I've got something really exciting to show you. I'm going to jump to this next form. I'm not even going to stop sharing my desktop. I'll just pull this out. Well, maybe I will just because I have stuff I have to do. So let's just go back here. There we go. All right. So I have this student grade appeal petition, right? Student grade appeal petition. It's hard to say. And the student is going to say, yes, I did all of my good faith effort. Yes, I did this. And it's going to autofill, of course, from my student information. And then they're at the very bottom here, they're going to say, yes, I know, this is why I'm appealing it. And then they're going to fill out their personal statement here. Hopefully I've got my personal statement in my copy. There we go. And what is happening? All of a sudden, an office only section showed up. It's not even an office only section. This is conditional visibility. Once somebody adds their personal statement, I want the summary and analysis to show up. I want a summary of the personal statement. You can imagine for an approver, just the unending free writing a student might give you based on their anger about a grade that they've received. And so I am going to have a summary of that personal statement. I'm going to have compliance with correlating grade appeal policy. Tell me how it's complying. Tell me how it's not complying. Give me an actual rating from 1 to 100 in terms of compliance with our grade appeal policy, and then give the students some keyword suggestions about improving this. You know, we don't believe that technology should replace the human experience. We believe that it should enhance the human experience. Don't we want to help our students? If there's something egregious going on, let's help them. We also want to help our approvers because they have to wade through a mass of stuff every day. So let's go behind the scenes and see how I did this. So just to tell you this, in another week, we are having our Kuali Days. It's our annual customer conference called Kuali Days. And we're going to be announcing 2 new really cool integration pieces of functionality. And this is one of them. They told me that I could do this today. This is our AI smart gadget. So here's some cool things about it. If I come down here, you can see what I've done is I configured these fields. They're data source fields, and I've just chosen the AI smart gadget in my data fields, like just the same ways that I chose different types of data sources that you've seen me do before today in today's webinar. But in this case, I chose the AI Smart Gadget. This Smart Gadget allows your institution to connect to your approved AI model. So it's not a Kuali AI model, it's your approved AI model. So you are able to use that Smart Gadget, connect to your AI, And then you're able to fill out a behavior and a prompt. In this case, for this one, I said, summarize this text. I actually had to tell it in 100 words or less because sometimes the summary was as long as the personal statement. And then, of course, for each one of these, I said, go out and find that public-facing grade appeal compliance policy, right? And read that, read this, compare them, tell me where it's compliant, tell me where it's not compliant. So I'm just creating those behaviors on the right. And then I asked it to give me a rating. And then I asked it to give some suggestions, again, relying on the comparison of your public-facing grade appeal policy. The AI model is able to go out there and do that comparison. Such a cool thing going on with our AI smart gadget. Okay, so one more thing I want to tell you. Oh, I'm looking at the time. I'm sorry, I'm 5 minutes over, but I told you so many cool
Well,
things.
it's only 3 minutes over because we started
Is
2 minutes late, so
Okay,
you're fine.
fantastic. But I do want to say this. The second announcement about our integrations that we're going to make at Quality Days, I have been barred from telling you today, but it is super cool. It's
Secret.
super new, secret sauce. And Paul has already created a webinar for a month from now where, if you're not going to Quality Days and you don't know what it's all about, that entire webinar is going to be about this new integration capability of ours that is secret sauce that I'm not allowed to talk about today. So Paul, I know I didn't leave any time for Q&A. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you emails and answer all of your questions.
Well, let's do this, Liz.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people, if anyone has to drop off, certainly, we understand, and we will send answers to all those questions by way of email. Now, the email that I send after this webinar will include a link to the recording. So if you'd like to share it with your colleagues, you can share the recording. And it will also include a link to the April 23rd webinar where we will be showcasing this new announcement that we'll be making at Quality Days.
The secret announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, so those two things will be included in that email as well as answers to the questions. So I have three, and let's start with Kim I think Kim's from
So,
ASU.
Paul, I wish we had a poll up because I'd like to know, like, who learned something new today? Because I really tried to show you a whole bunch of stuff that I don't normally show you in demos, but next time we'll do a poll.
I can do it right now. Thanks to the power of Zoom. Did you learn something new today? And we'll just say yes and a little, and then we'll add no. And required show as drop down. I don't know what that means. I'm going to save that. And I think it's posted. Anyway, let's get to these questions. Kim from
Okay.
ASU wants to know if you're aware of any universities that are using Kuali Build to manage and issue I-20 documents.
I'm not. I'm not, but and hi Kim, thanks for joining us. I'm not, but it's something that could be posted in our quality circles. So for our new faces on the call, we do have a community forum, and that could be posted in that community forum and see if any of our other institutions are using Quality Build for that forum. I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah, but technically, I don't think there's anything in Build that would prevent them from creating an I-20 form for their international students. So,
Right.
yeah,
I'm just not aware of it. I know we do have a lot
it's
of
actually doing that
international
specific
students.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question comes from Patricia at, oh, I just lost her. I think Patricia's at UC Davis, and she would like to know about Kuali's use in animal ethics and
Yes.
IACUC protocol management and review. I know we have our own software under the research suite for that, but is there anything extra or special that Build can contribute to animal ethics in IACUC?
Yeah, with we do have our IACUC form, right? We do have our IACUC specifically architected solution in our research administration suite, but there are a lot of supporting documents that you could include. Some people want to have different kinds of core data sets that need to move through an approval process. Maybe you need to move your species list through an approval process, or my mind just went blank, but a lot of those types of core, right, data lists that you want to move through an approval process, and then that's available to you in your IACUC solution itself. Or of
Great.
course, yeah. Oh, here's the poll. Oh, the poll just came up for me. Oh, it says,
Yeah, I had to click the save button. So you guys can answer that. We're getting
yeah.
some yeses in here. That's great. Great, great. Kim had a
And
follow-on question.
I
She's go ahead.
Well, I just thought I would tell Patricia that it would be great to get into a demo with you and show you the IACUC solution, and then show you some supporting Kuali Build forms and kind of move back and forth so you can see the difference between the two solutions. That might be a great answer for you.
And I actually just want to shout out to the whole UC Davis team that showed up today. We had a bunch of them register at the last minute. I'm up here in Rockland, just north of you, so delighted to have a neighbor
Yeah.
attend one of our webinars. All right, let's see. Kim had a follow-on question. She wants to know for clarification, not the creation of the I-20 itself, but the collection of the info and the docs needed from the students to issue the I-20. So,
I don't see
yeah.
anything precluding that. Quali Build is FERPA compliance, and we can sign a BAA if we have any specific information there that is sensitive. And so being able to put those together and maybe feeding into one form, I'm just not specifically aware of us doing an I-20. I was bringing up a little database that I have to see if I could search for that. Um, but we might be able to get with you later, Kim, and see if we have anybody doing that.
Um, yeah, and that's important to add, right? So you were going a mile a minute. I was trying to
I
keep up with
was.
you, and even with everything that you showed, we're only just sort of scratching the surface of the
Right.
capabilities of Build. You tried to cover a lot through some use cases to show, what it was capable of, but there's an infinite number of use
Yeah.
cases out there for things that you could do with Build.
If I run a list of just forms that we have in different places. We do have international experience information form, international graduate confirmation form, international student airport pickup form of all things, international payment plans, international travel and program waivers. So love to get together with you, Kim, and see what's going on there. And then, of course, you're welcome to post that question in our Quali Build community circle as well.
And last question we have from Alicia here wants to know if we can export complete records so they can be transferred to another institution for storage.
Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways of exporting. One is, of course, just manual. And so export that record. You can choose when you export a record whether you're going to include all the workflow statuses and that workflow auditable trail attached to it, or just as a PDF. You can also query that record from the workflow. So you can query our GraphQL and automate it from the workflow, and then you can push the data from the workflow. But if you want the fully defined form, you can query it through the GraphQL and have it automate to your archive record wherever you want to send that. So easily done.
All right. And that was our last question. So, a
Fantastic.
little over. Thanks for those of you who stuck around to the very end here. As I said earlier, I will send a follow-up email to everyone with a link to the recording and a link to our next webinar where we're making this big announcement. And
Do we
thank
have a
you.
poll result? Do we have a poll
Oh
result?
yeah, yeah. So it looks like 85% of our attendees said they learned something new today. We had
Fantastic.
15% say they learned a little. I know we had some power users show up to the webinar,
Right,
so
right. I was worried
the
about
fact
my
that the,
power users, but you didn't see the AI before, so that must have been your little.
Yeah, that was again just scratching the surface. So,
Right.
Kuali
Right.
Days, I know we have some big announcements for things that we're doing with AI. Nobody said that they didn't learn anything. So I'd say you got the job done, Liz. Well done.
Great. I know
All
I
right.
fire hosed it, but I was wanting to make sure that I could help those of our customers who are power users, but also level set with our brand new faces. So thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, thanks everyone. This was fun. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.